We're so glad that you've joined us for today's edition of Life Connected, the podcast that tells you all things all about Celina, Texas. And we thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Rylander, and joining me today is one of those great legacy Celina families, folks who have been in this place for a long time and have made an impact, not just these men joining me, but generations of their family. We have the Ousley family with us today, members of that family who have lived here really across 6 generations. And so we're so glad to welcome Dr. Jon Ousley and his boys, Jack and Jace. And it is going to be a fun time here on the Life Connected podcast. Let's get right to it. Welcome, and thank you guys for being with us on Life Connected. We're so glad you're here. Your family has lived on the same land in Celina for 6 generations. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me. I feel like I've always belonged here. I didn't grow up here, but as an adult in my married life, my wife and I, we definitely feel like we've belonged here. I've lived all over the Metroplex growing up, and just really felt like this is where I ultimately needed to be. Felt right. Again, I go, like we talked earlier about the that acre that I was given when I was a kid, and how much that resonated with me. And I guess I've always knew since the minute I got that acre that I probably would be out here at some point.
Yeah.
No. With pictures of me in a sandbox, I think the first few weeks of being alive in a diaper and stuff. So I don't know. I've always felt this is where I was going to be. So.
That's awesome. Jace, what about you? What does that family legacy mean to you?
Well, for me, it's similar with Jack. We got to come on the weekends to visit my grandmother all the time. And so she kind of showed us the farm life, if you will, and gave us the experience to hanging out on the creek, doing picnics out in the pastures and things like that. So she kind of taught us about the history of that and her family through her own actions and everything. So it was really fun to experience those weekends with her and my brother and sister. And I don't know, it just felt like a great place for me to start my family as well. And so I did, and we've loved it ever since.
That's so great. Dr. Ousley, right in the middle of those 6 generations sits you somewhere in there. Talk about your love for this place, your love for the people who helped you grow up here, just your legacy in this town.
Well, you couldn't help but love it after being with my mother for the first 18 years here. She loved this town, and she, wanted to park. She wanted to, wanted the football field donated, and she did those things. She was really, I didn't know my great-grandfather or my grandfather. They both passed away before I was born, but I knew my great-grandmother, I knew my grandmother, and they all were, total Celinites. They were here. They loved it. My mother wouldn't trade it for anything. She moved to Dallas for a short period of time, then moved right back. Never moved out of the house. She'd come out here on weekends. But for all intents and purposes, the whole 97 years almost, she was here.
That's so incredible. When you think about your childhood, and let's stay on you for a minute, we'll go in chronological order. What a favorite childhood memory that ties your life and Celina together? Something you remember that was special?
I'll never forget going to the creek and building dams and having fun. And then I picked cotton, I picked corn, back before they had corn pickers and cotton pickers, mechanical. But I guess, just growing up here and the friends I made here are still with me. And those that haven't passed away by this time, but
Right.
still they're good memories here.
Yeah.
5 of my best friends were named David here, so it was.
It's awesome. Jack, Jace, what were your favorite childhood memories?
Probably a lot of the similar thing that Dad and Jace were just talking about as far as, we learned everything about country living, farm living. She would, on the way out here, she would tell you every single crop that's growing as you pass by, and she kept all the animals and had, she had horses, so it was our first introduction to horses, cattle. She had beefalo for a little while, the bison and cows. And then she kept the sheep and all the animals for the FFA kids across the street at the old high school. And But it came out here as a kid where, she'd tell us to wear your dirty clothes and go down to the creek, and we'd have a picnic outside. And later on, I'd have my Cub Scouts come out. We'd do these campouts along the creek. It was just similar to Dad. I remember picking okra. I was all spiny. It was not fun to pick. And then the snap peas, we'd pick those as well. So it was really, for a kid that grew up in suburbs, it was great. It was learning about, a life that I didn't know about. So, and then animals, of course. I mean, it's what we love. That's why we love animals.
That's very, Jace.
Mine was more traumatic. I had a couple experiences with box turtle.
Oh,
And then also a tarantula, my first meeting with a tarantula. So those were my really like the ones that are ingrained in me, just having to deal with those things. Those were both on me or attacking me. So those were, but I also remember as soon as we got to my grandmother's, we would go to Mayor's and pick out our cereal for the weekend or whatever, and just go into town, and everybody seemed to know everybody, so it was really a lot of fun. And we spent a lot of time visiting the assisted living not the rest homes, the senior care centers, and she took us to that. And we had to visit all the people that she wanted us to visit while we were here, so we got to meet a lot of families here. There was one, Rodney, Yarborough, that we visited a lot too. But so I just remember the connectivity. It's Life Connected was existing then. So it was
That's
great.
incredible. You guys talk about Maxine so much, and as a mother, grandmother, her legacy that's alive so much in all of you today. Talk about her character, her values. What mattered to Maxine Ousley that is etched in Celina because it was a part of her?
Well, she was really into making sure culture was here, it seemed like. Just being able to travel through her work experiences and things like that. She loved traveling, and she brought that all back here. She would buy what looked like costumes today, were indigenous wear for all the places she visited, and all the knickknacks and things she brought back. She had a bevy of just things from around the world. So it was really crazy. And she, and her love for dance, and trying to get that infused too in the area. So I think culture was one of the big things. And she was funny because every time you go anywhere with her, she'd make sure to talk to everybody. And even if we were at an airport or wherever we were, and the more different you might have looked, the more interested she was to know all about you and trying to just make friends that way. And so she was really friendly about that and trying to get to know everybody.
That's awesome. Dr. Ousley, what do you remember about her values and her character?
She never wanted anybody ever to lie to her, and she just, being a single mom, she was really, back in the 40s, that was just unheard of. And she made her own way. She made sure that, she got what she needed and she didn't get taken advantage of. And it was really nice to see her, take care of herself. Yeah, and the ballet thing was incredible. She had been teaching at Hockey Day in Dallas, and she finally decided, I think people in Celina need to be exposed to this too. And so she opened her own ballet place here. And it was amazing because she not only taught, she was a ballerina in her early life until she was in her 20s, and then she came back here and started teaching ballet and tap and everything that went with it, and I'd help her on her recitals. It was just hysterical, kids doing their ballet and tap. It was really fun to be there. But she really cared about the town. She wanted to make sure that everybody got an equal opportunity. If somebody couldn't afford to come to the lessons, she found a way that got them there.
That's incredible. And Jack, you shared with me not too long ago a memory of your grandmother that you didn't find out until later that she had donated the football stadium land. That was just where y'all went and where you watched the Bobcats and where you made memories. But it seems like one of her values and character traits was this quiet generosity. And if that's accurate, tell me what that means to you and how that's shaped the way that you live your lives as men today.
So I think what she ultimately really cared about was kids, and wanted to make sure. I mean, her original donation of the field was a park, which is clearly for kids. When it was reverted back over to the school, that was clearly for the kids. When she sold the first, I mean, where the old high school is and the middle school, that was when she sold that land to the district, and I'm sure it was below value. She wasn't out to make any money. I'm sure that was her thoughts were the kids as well. When she taught dance, that was for kids. It morphed into older people as things went. She taught watercolor, belly dancing. I think it was pretty scandalous back in the day. Mm-hmm. But kind of go back to what Dad said. I mean, she's super independent.
Not just Maxine, but really your family's connection goes back to the 1800s of Celina. How does that history, when you're here now and the mantle is passed to your generations, how does that shape your feeling of responsibility as residents here and as owners of this place and as owners of this culture?
Well, the responsibility seems a little bit heavy, right? We want to make sure it continues for future generations. So things get tougher. Property taxes change things. It makes it a lot more difficult. Development has changed everything, and where this land sits kind of is affected by all that. So what its future is certainly something that 3 generations are working on right now to make sure that future generations get to enjoy it in some capacity. So it's a huge responsibility. There's a lot of us to work on it, and we are not alone. The city, the ISD, there's a lot of people that are interested in making this a legacy with us. So we're really looking forward to working on those goals and trying to keep this in perpetuity for the family to enjoy in some capacity.
I'll kind of
citizens.
Yeah, I kind of second that a little bit. To me, it doesn't feel that daunting at times. I just feel like I need to make sure that we stay a part of it. I know that we've been a part of it from the beginning, so maybe that part pushes me in that responsibility way. But there have been a series of things that have happened to me over my life, including like the bicentennial celebration where I talked to you last time about catching a greased pig, and that's some really good memories. Like one of those core memories that I have downtown. So that in turn has kind of pushed me in the direction of downtown as far as wanting to help and be a part of things, and I've committed to that. Before I knew that my grandmother even worked at the theater downtown, but I just before I knew that the importance of the downtown to my dad on those weekends as well, I just I don't know, I just gravitated towards downtown because it had memories for me, and it wasn't so much of a feeling of family responsibility, but just but this place has just been important. It's been important to my family for a long time, and I think you just kind of got to. It's in your blood. You didn't have a choice. It's like, right. This is where we're going to live. Let's make it the best we can. I think that's what everybody's been doing since the beginning of Celina. Hopefully we can. I keep pushing for that. It's like, it's about maintaining what we have, more so than anything, and it's going to be a challenge. But I look forward to it.
And both of you talked about downtown some. And Dr. Ousley, when we were together once, you were explaining to me just the power of being downtown on a Saturday in Celina when you were a kid. And tell our viewers and listeners, what was downtown Celina? People think it's this rural farming place where everybody's spread out. Tell everybody what downtown Celina was like on a Saturday when you were coming up.
It was fabulous. I'll never forget it. That was probably the highlight of my week. Is Saturday afternoon, and all the merchants would donate different things, whether it's a gift certificate or a meal or whatever. They'd donate things, and then they would raffle them off. And Johnny May, who had a incredibly fun voice, you couldn't mistake it. I mean, oh my goodness, he was, he did that for 25 years. Wow. And people came from all over. Celina really was bigger than Frisco, bigger than Prosper, bigger than Powell Point, or of course Weston. Not bigger than McKinney, but they had 5 grocery stores here, and no Kroger's, no H-E-B's or anything. But everybody came here because they're all privately owned grocery stores, and you pick the one you liked the most, and that's where you went. But there were 5 of them, and people came from all those towns in here to get their groceries, to buy their clothes and clothes and food and what other amenities they needed. So it was fun, and then they'd rifle those off on Saturday afternoon, and just going there, hundreds of people out in the square, and he'd get up there and start his chant, and it was just fun to watch and hear.
Wow. I've heard people say it, and I've seen in writing that people who lived in Celina could get everything they needed in Celina, even back in the 40s and 50s, way before all the development and all the boom. Would you say that that's a true and accurate statement?
Exactly, yes. We had everything you needed. There were less things you needed.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Everything you really needed.
The real things.
Don't ask my kids.
Yeah.
One of the great legacies of the Ousley family, and we give this to Maxine credit, we give credit to even her, the people that preceded her in your family, is the gift of service. You all serve, you're on commissions, you're on boards, you involved in the schools here through your kids and nephews and nieces and grandkids. You work and you serve downtown. You talk about your passion for downtown. What drives the Ousley family, the Ousley boys, I'll say it with the 3 of you at this table, what drives you to that commitment to civic life and service?
For me, it was my mother. Growing up, she was super active with when Dad was just starting his practice out of dental school. We went to Arlington, and Arlington was kind of a budding city at the time too. It was early '70s, and he was a children's dentist, and Mom was a hygienist, and it was about getting involved there and making ourselves a part of that community. So I feel like knowing my grandmother's history here and my, being drugged to me, to kind of city council meetings and rallies for candidates and stuff, park board meetings, all that kind of stuff growing up, just kind of helped me realize that what I needed to do was, there's a civic duty that we should be doing, or I felt like I should be doing, getting involved, and it seemed real easy here. Seemed appreciated here. And when I started, it seemed a lot smaller.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Much simpler.
Yes.
But along with serving your family, it seems that because I've gotten to talk to you and spend some time with you all, it seems that you've learned how to embrace the growth and work through all that, but staying rooted as family, rooted as community, rooted with culture and those values that we talked about, that were your grandmother's, your mom's. Talk about that balance between embracing the growth and the change that inevitably is here, and yet that staying rooted that matters to the Ousley family.
But I'll be real quick, but I believe a lot of that for me is Jace raising his boys, having his boys out here. His boys starting in elementary school and through high school is really what kind of brought it back home. It's like, hey, he's raising his kids out here, so it's clearly important to him and his wife and the boys. And I just, for me, that's what kind of drew me back in. It's like, hey, this we need to make sure this is a good place for the boys to go, for the boys to live, for his raise his family here. My wife and I are done with our kids. We're grandkids now, but we still want it to be a good place to bring our grandkids. So.
Yeah, Jace, what about you?
Well, so just being involved in the ISD with the students, right, with my kids being students. Just being a part of that through the school system for the boys, and watching our teams succeed and see them, from the beginning of the seasons to the end of the seasons, just how it pulls everybody together around here. It's fantastic. But and it also, it's also had a sense of civic duty too, to be pulled into wanting to see good things happen for Celina and be a part of trying to help that.
That's right. Let's talk about Ousley Park. We've talked about your family, your roots here, your legacy, I would call the legacy of service that started generations ago that you guys carry out so well. Let's talk about this park, this fun dream that Maxine had. She donated land. It's gone through changes over time. Of course, Bobcat Field sat there for so long, and so many of Celina's historic moments are written on that parcel of land through sports and band and drill team and cheer and that press box standing as a sentinel today. Every time I drive by, I get that lump in my throat the size of a Bobcat football. But let's talk about the whole park. How has that journey been to see that when the stadium moved out to the hilltop behind the high school and you're looking at this going, well, now what? To where we are today. What's that journey been like? This had to be fun.
Originally started with Bill Hemby, and he was kind of tasked with talk to us about the status of the football field and what they planned on doing with it all along. And just one day up and got a phone call saying, "Hey, look, well, I think it was one of Dr. Tom's first things. I mean, he came during COVID, or right at the end of COVID, or right during COVID. Plus, he had this whole football thing to figure out. Plus, some stuff with the middle school up the road, and so it immediately, we're immediately in contact with Dr. Tom. And I feel like we're, for some of the first to deal with him and talk to him and meet this guy and decide what see what the ISD needed from us and we decided at that point that, it was my grandmother's wishes for this always to be a park, and that we were not going to be the ones that, like I've said this before, that destroyed the hallowed grounds of Bobcat Field. That just wasn't going to happen on our watch. And let's make it a park like she originally intended it to be. I have a mother who's a sculptor, an artist, and we love animals. We wanted a dog park. We wanted to keep the field. We want a splash pad for the kids. We want trail beautification to go along the creek. We want connectivity so kids can get to downtown by a hike and bike trail that leads up to the park. And it just seemed like a no-brainer to make this part of the family legacy and what the best we could make it. So,
yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with or just watching the city put this together, because they really put all the effort into it with all the plans and things, and taking in the community's responses to. And it was fun to go to each one of those stages to see what people were saying, because I remember at one point there was possibly not going to be a splash pad, and that didn't work for our community. They needed a splash pad.
Yes.
So, or some kind of water feature at the park that would work. And so, I don't know, it just seemed like a really fun thing, because parks, I mean, they're not political typically, and they it's a lot of people are interested in that. Yeah. We need something downtown. It's great to have that. It was great to have that field downtown, and that was a really good feeling when you saw that park. I mean, the football stadium alive on Friday night, and hopefully we'll have something like that in the future too. I hope it's still a field nearby would really help downtown. I like that idea, but. The park itself was a lot of fun. A lot of good people working with the park board and things like that. So
that's incredible. And I think your family's done a great job trying to ensure that the park honors both the past and prepares for the future. Correct? I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but would you say that was on your heart as you guys navigated through this process?
Partially, I think really the community engagement and what people wanted to see is always kind of what we've been about. It's it's not just what we want to see at the park, but what does everybody want to see at this park? Does everybody still want the football field to stay? Does the splash pad that we were talking about? It just it's really about what does everybody need and want. I mean, that's really even what's left with our property. It's like it really comes down to what does Celina really need. We want to stay living here, so I don't want to build something that nobody wants. I'm not going to be that guy.
That's right. That's right. But when I see at the bottom end of as far as the compass goes, at the bottom of the park, I see the old Carver School incorporated. At the top end of the park, I see the old stadium and the old field houses, the old historic press box. I mean, there are powerful pieces of history stitched into this tapestry that makes up this park, and that is not unintentional, right? I mean, that was well thought out, well planned.
With help from the park board and everything.
Yeah, everybody.
I don't think that was our we were not able to come up with that. But I think at one point they were thinking of it being a heritage park. And so that was the main impetus by trying to create those historical timelines and things like you said. I mean, we do have all those great historic monuments to celebrate.
It's incredible. And you talked about things that matter the most to your mom, things like animals and things like kids and our schools and all of that. When I hear you talking about splash pads and a dog park and an art walk, it again, I just see not only our history, but I see your grandmother and your mom, Dr. Ousley, her spirit just woven through this. I've got to believe that that's just a blessing to you and that it also isn't unintentional, right?
I was amazed the kids came back and stayed here. That Jace, the kids went to school here. Just never ceased to amaze me. And then things that my mother would just, I'm sure she's happy. I'm sure she's smiling right now.
It's incredible. She has to be. And again, you talked about, Jack, you shared with me first about your grandmother giving each grandchild a parcel of land, an acre of land. I want, what did that represent to you? When you think back on that today, it's an acre. I mean, there's, I guess, in our modern understanding, there are things way more impressive, but that in that moment was massive for you guys, right?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Funny, the first thing that happened when we got the property, I think Mom was talking about this the other day, was that the county wanted to take some of it almost immediately after we were giving some of our property. So first thing we did as kids found ourselves in a hearing in McKinney discussing what we're going to do with our. So as kids, we're learning about property rights in Texas right off the bat. So,
Welcome to Texas land ownership.
And I get it. I mean, I get why Texans are particular about our property rights. I think that's ingrained in me as well. But it was extremely generous of her to do that. We've all since repiled it in just for tax purposes. It's easier to keep it all together as a group. But it's what I think it's what makes us all feel so tied to all of it. We've had all kinds of crazy offers and thoughts about what we should do with our corner and our property, and we've had all kinds of really great ideas. We're still not. We're not about to. We don't know what we're going to do with it. Yeah. I mean, we have good ideas.
It's an okay answer, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's pressure for you to have to know today.
That's right.
That's right.
It's that generosity of her donating land to you that's the same generosity that the city benefits from today, because in a sense she donated land to all of us. That's Ousley Park. And when I think of that and I think of her generosity that you saw at home, her generosity that we see in the city, what is it that you hope people who experience that park will take away? I don't want them to just be wet from a splash pad or, walk under an old press box. What do you hope they take away when families go there, individuals go there over time?
Community. I mean, this town's about community, and now it's about keeping it.
And the nature of it all.
Yeah.
Just the creek itself.
The physical beauty, right? Yeah.
And just taking that in. And because she would have enjoyed walking that path, she would have walked it daily with her dog.
And that's right. Or her horse or her sheep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she probably went into those leash laws that these cities have today, right?
For some reason, her dogs didn't need them. It was crazy.
One of you, and I'm diverting just for a brief moment here, but one of you, Jack and Babe, and you shared with me about the creek restoration project, Doe Branch Creek that runs through Celina, that runs through Ousley Park. Talk about, you said that's super unique and it's something special the state very rarely does. Talk about why that's important, or whoever.
Just the guy from the Corps of Engineers was
thanks.
stating that since they own all of our lakes, the Corps of Engineers manages all of our lakes. They also manage the what fills the lakes, right? So when I was talking to them, in the early part of this process, I heard from the guy at the Corps saying, hey, or actually the guy who identified the trees for the Corps of Engineers, interesting guy. He said he was real proud to come out here and do this one because he said this is the only creek restoration they had in the state of Texas at the time. So he said this doesn't happen very often. So I thought it was kind of unique, and I appreciated that part of it because I live on that creek as well. I've got other friends down at Lake Lewisville that live off that creek as well, and again, I go back to hopefully one day we'll have this hike and bike trail that'll take us all the way to Lake Louisville.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have our own Katy Trail right here in Celina, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm all for it. Just a couple more questions, and they're more reflective questions. I think all of this has allowed us to do some reflection today that people who watch and listen to this are going to love hearing your stories. So I want to thank the Ousley family for taking time to share at times very personal stuff. I want to hear from each of you. What's one tradition or value or lesson from your mom or from Mama Rooney that you hope never gets lost in Celina?
Community
Yeah.
probably is the most important thing to her. She could visualize those people on that park going in, coming in from town. That time there was just town, and there weren't any outside areas. And she envisioned people going into that park and really enjoying themselves and having picnics and with their kids, and there was plenty of room. There were, acreage. So that, I guess.
That's awesome. Thank you. Jace, what's something Mama Rooney pounded into you that you hope never leaves Celina?
Well, I didn't know Mama Rooney very well. So I knew my grandmother, Moymac is what we called her.
I'm sorry. I got the forgive me. I got the names. Okay, say it again because I messed it up.
We called her Moymac.
Moymac. Thank you. You said Mama Rooney the other day, and that name stuck in my head, but you told me, and I forgot. Moymac. Thank you, Moymac. Tell me.
And so her compassion to others and her love for animals. I mean, I hope those things carry on through my kids definitely have that same thing going. And I hope that kind of sticks with the community idea as well. So her compassion to others and just that alone really is one of the most important things to me.
We highlighted those Longhorns a few episodes ago, and I'm sure she would love to drive down 289 and see those Longhorns out there. I mean, it's just, I hope somehow, some way, I don't know how, but I hope it lasts. I'm with you. Jack, something that Moymac
I'm going to kind of piggyback off what Dad said. It's about community. She never knew a stranger. I think that's how we keep our sense of community. That now I think about it. There's no strangers in Celina. Say hi to everybody you know. They live in your community as well. That's something she ingrained in me. Like Jace was saying earlier, you stand in line with her somewhere, and before you know it, she knew where everybody was from, their life story, and was probably going to write them a letter at some point, or meet them for coffee or something afterwards. But I think there's going to be no strangers in this park. If somebody's in this park, then introduce yourself and say hi, because that's how it works in Celina. So I used to always laugh because it doesn't happen as much anymore, but you take back roads to McKinney and everybody waved at you. Yeah. Everybody. And I still catch myself waving to people.
Don't stop.
Don't
stop. Last question I have for each of you. It's more of a chance for you to just, as people who love Celina, for you to just share a message. The crazy joy of this whole podcast world is that it'll be heard by people all over the place, but it'll especially be heard by people from Celina. What's one message that if you could give to Celina today that they carry in their hearts, like the things that were taught to you? You could give the people of Celina today one message. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I'm piggyback on Dad. Don't forget our roots. This is, community is what got us here. Let's stick to what we know works.
Jace, we give you the final word.
Well, I'll agree with them on that. And it just goes back to the community and really everybody saying hello to each other.
Yeah. Well, we never change that.
Yeah, I know it sounds cliche. But it's what I don't know. I haven't ever lived anywhere else that I grew up in Arlington, but we didn't have community in Arlington. I mean, somewhat, but not like we do here.
Well, it has been awesome to hear memories from your hometown, memories from the people and the place who made this town what it is. I want to thank the Ousley family members for joining us today. Dr. Jon Ousley, for Jack Ousley, for Jace Ousley, and just for their family, for generations who have poured into this place, who have loved this place, and who have generously made it possible for all of us to not only live here, but to love it here. And so to the Ousley family, on behalf of Life Connected Podcast, we say thank you. Thank you for those of you who joined us, who listened, who watched and who will take these values and the principles and stories that you've heard today and keep them in your heart and here in our hometown. Have a great time. We'll see you next time on Life Connected.